Alright, so this video has been a little while in the making, but even though, it's just me recording my Chromebook screen to make this tier list, but yeah, I said I would have done it like last week, but I just didn't. But yeah, welcome to the Freedom Planet 1 stage tier list. Now, obviously, you can tell by the tiers, I'm going to rate these stages how I felt about them, on if they were great, good, okay, or they were just bad. Now, honestly, this is going to be how I feel about these levels. You might think about it differently. Say, for example, I put Pengu Lagoon in, like, the great tier. You might find Pengu Lagoon to be a bad level. Like, yeah, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to do an order. I'm going to do the stages in order of how they appeared. So, yeah, first up, we got Dragon Valley. Now, Dragon Valley is, essentially just baby's first level. It's really easy. It really is. There's not really too much to really note or talk about because again, it's baby's first level. So I'm a good level. Don't get me wrong. It's a fun level, but because it's baby's first level, it's going in the not the bad tier. It's going in not the bad tier. It's going in the okay tier. Okay? There's just nothing really interesting about it. But it's still a fun level to play regardless. Right. Next up is Relic Maze. Actually, no. Not Relic Maze. What am I talking about? Next up is Aqua Tunnel. Aqua Tunnel is next. Now, Aqua Tunnel is the only stage that's exclusive to Lilac. Not Lilac. What am I thinking? Aqua Tunnel is the only stage exclusive to Mila, and the first one she and Mila's playthrough. Now, for a first level, but technically it's while it is a first level, it could be technically a third level when you think about it because in order to unlock Mila first, you have to beat Dragon Valley and Relic Maze to unlock Mila, which then grants you access to Aqua Tunnel. So it's a first stage for Mila, but it could be possibly a third stage overall. But yeah, the boss is actually really the boss is actually quite unique for the level. It's actually designed really well. So it goes in the good tier. Like I like again, this Dragon Valley is fun, but Aqua Tunnel just had more to it than Dragon Valley. But yeah, it's time for Relic Maze. Now, Relic Maze, I honestly. Now, this is obviously going to go in the great tier. No, this is honestly going. Yeah, it's going to go in the great tier. Why is it going to go in the great tier, you might ask? Because it's not. Well, it is linear technically, but at the same time, there's also branching paths you could do. And there's some stuff you can literally just like make easier, like the mini bosses and stuff like that. Sometimes you could just outright skip the mini bosses. The boss fight was actually pretty fucking good. Despite being challenging, of course, the first time through, and with Mila, considering Mila's got slightly over half the health Carol and Lilac to have, making the boss somewhat even more challenging, but honestly more fun with Mila. Which also brings me to Mila's exclusive path in Relic Maze. Playing through, that little thingy that you did, that's exclusive to Mila, by the way, because while she's doing that, both either Carol or Lilac, depending on who you play as in their respective story, is like chasing the Kingdom Stone. And yeah, Mila didn't get that portion for obvious reasons, so she got the little mine part, which led to the second half of Relic Maze, and that was actually pretty cool. So yeah, for those reasons, it goes in the great tier. Alright, Fortune Knight. Fortune Knight is actually really fucking fun. It's probably the most beautiful stage other than Pengu Lagoon. It's probably the most beautiful stage. And it feels just like a casino, complete with, like the slot machine, stuff like that. The elevators in the second portion of the level are nice. The boss is fucking fun. And Spade, who you only fight as Lilac. No, not Spade. Fuck. It's not Spade. Serpentine, who you only fight as Lilac as a mini boss in Relic Maze. Before the second half of the stage. It's the only mini boss exclusive to Lilac. Other than Pengu Lagoon, but yeah. Music is amazing. Makes you feel like you're in like a casino, but at the same time a casino in China. Along with or Japan. It's also beautiful. So because of that, I'm actually gonna put this in the great tier ahead of Relic Maze. Right, next up, Sky Battalion. Do I really need to say anything about Sky Battalion? It's going in the great tier. Like, obviously my favorite level in the game. It's essentially just kind of 3 mini stages in just one. It's 3 mini stages in one, which I think is pretty cool. And because of that and other reasons, it's going to the great tier. I don't really have anything to say about it that I've already said. Alright, so next up is Jade Creek. Like, it's a beautiful stage, don't get me wrong, but when you play as Mila and Lilac, Mila especially, it's a fun level. Like, you can actually complete the level faster with Mila than you can Lilac, which is crazy. Considering, Mila doesn't have the dragon boost, Lilac does. And she doesn't move as fast. But at the same time, she's also, she can like fly and avoid the enemies, in projectiles to avoid taking damage, which honestly makes the level much more fun and easier with Mila. Even when you take into account that she has less health than Carol or Lilac. But playing this level as Carol in that one portion, like, the one with the spring that you kind of have to like jump on, then go through like this gap above it and just either dragon boost or fly up there with Mila. Like, yeah, you can't do that. You have to like do all this crazy maneuvering with that, and with Carol, and it's just like, and when I played this as Carol, I'm like, what the fuck do I do? I was there for like what I think it was like 5 minutes trying to figure out how I was supposed to get up there. Yeah, not to mention, the Nira as the mini boss, just kind of boring because it was essentially just like Spade, except she shielded herself, and it's just really fucking annoying because not only did you have to hit her like 3 times to destroy her shield, but you had to hit her a few more times to actually damage her. To actually, each time do progress to the next shield, and you had to do that for like 4 shields, and it's just not fun. In the mini boss, the mini boss was kind of mediocre. So yeah, overall, it's Jade Creek. It's just not a good level. It's really not. Alright, so next one I'm gonna do is Trap Hideout. Now this level is stage 6 for both Carol and Mila. And honestly, it's actually a pretty good level. Like, yeah, I hate, the lasers that you kind of have to wait out most of the time. That kind of slows you down, especially if you're speedrunning the game. Cine speedruns, by the way. And it's just bleh. And that, like, the first, like, minute, it's just kind of boring. But then it gets better after that first part. Yeah, while I did hate, hate the enemies of, those green ball guys or whatever the fuck they're called, that kind of spin the swords and just jab them down with the insane hitboxes. Yeah, I hate those guys. And those guys with the, that look like the Rock'em Sock'em robots that kind of just like extend their arm and then pull it back. Yeah, I don't like those guys either. But mini boss is fine. The level design, past those lasers, good. The visuals for the level, absolutely beautiful. Looks like you're in Japan. So honestly, it's a pretty good level, though I'm gonna put it under Aqua Tunnel because, again, for like the first minute or so, it's kind of slow. And also, some of the enemies are kind of ridiculous. But yeah. Next up on my tier list is Pengu Lagoon. Now, obviously, after my playthrough, I realized that I was wrong about Aqua Tunnel being the only level exclusive to a character. Pengu Lagoon is only played using Lilac. And it's before the dragon boss at the end. As the end level boss. Which actually turned out to just be a hologram from a robot. Which actually was a really good twist. Like, I thought we were like fighting an actual dragon, but no, it was just a hologram displayed by a robot. The music's really good. The mechanic of having to use Dragon Boost twice in certain parts of the level to even progress, like that, like no other level did that. It's also a really beautiful level, and it just it was 100% built for Lilac. Obviously, because she's the only one that could go on the level, but you could tell it was made specifically for her, not like all these other levels that we rated so far, or will rate later on. Like this one, 100% built all around Lilac. and for and considering Lilac is my favorite character to play as, even though I've yet to do a run for her as of right now, it's going in the great tier right under Sky Battalion. Like, it's a really good level. Next up is, now we've got all the exclusive and mostly fun levels, except Jade. I mean, Jade Creek is fun, but it's fun if you're not playing as Carol. But yeah, next up is Thermal Base. Like the idea of, you infiltrating Brevon's base to like save. Fuck, my mind. I'm sorry, my mind just blanked out for some reason. I have no idea why it just blanked out. I apologize. When you're trying to save Torque, or if you're playing as Carol and Mila, Lilac even, because yeah, you have to remember, Lilac goes through Thermal Base first to try to save Torque, but ends up getting captured herself. So then Carol, Mila, and Torque, save Lilac. But yeah, the level is kind of tricky and confusing at some points. I mean, it's like, while it's not like end game with stuff, it's like pretty late game. So it's expected to be at least a little challenging. Sometimes it's just incredibly obnoxious with things where even if you don't get squished, it's an instant death no matter how much health you have. You could be at full health, touch something, like those crushers or whatever they're called, like halfway through this, like in the second half of the stage, you could like get close to those things and you're fucking dead, and now just get squished. That is absolute bullshit. I'm not gonna say anything about the water skip clip at in the first like area of the level, because again, that's a speedrun trick. It's meant to be difficult to do, so I'm not gonna say anything about that. That's just kind of like artificial difficulty. It's not to mention the boss is kind of lame and the level, so it's it's honestly just going in the bad tier, because yeah, I just didn't personally have any fun in this level at all. I personally didn't. Like, it was like, honestly, Jade Creek was better, because I only hated Jade Creek as Carol. Whereas Thermal Base, the issues I mentioned are present for all the characters. So it's just kind of like, what's the point? I didn't like Thermal Base personally. And next up, honestly, for some reason, when you play on adventure or classic mode, it technically counts as a stage, but it's not a stage on the tier list for whatever reason. But the shoot 'em up stage, after Thermal Base before Battle Glacier, honestly, I would put it in the great tier, like probably like right in between Sky Battalion and Pengu Lagoon, purely for the fact that, it's an entirely different genre. Just for that brief stage, for those couple minutes you're playing it, it's different, it's unique, it's fun. Like, while yeah, it's easy, you can essentially just, hold this. I'm going to mention the square button because I play on PS4, but you can literally just hold the square button and you'll be fine. Hold the square button, aim straight, you essentially win. But yeah, despite it, being pretty simple, it's still 100% a great level. I would have personally put it right under Sky Battalion and above Pengu Lagoon. But yeah, that brings us to Battle Glacier. Like, okay, this is gonna be a hot take, but Battle Glacier is an okay level. Actually, no, now that I think about it, I just realized Battle Glacier is going in the bad tier right above Thermal Base, while Pengu Lagoon, Jade Creek is going in the okay tier right above Dragon Valley. The reasons Battle Glacier is going in the bad tier is, you have one area where you have to flip the switches to like progress, and as well as hit missiles to destroy barricades in the wall, and just them sometimes just going the opposite direction you want them to. It's just like, that gets really annoying. And again, the switches you have flip to progress. It's just like, why? Actually, now that I think about it, it's actually, while it's absolutely, it's more tedious to flip those switches and such than it is to like get card keys or whatever in thermal base. And Final Dreadnought 1 through 4 as well. When you think about it, like, it's just more tedious because while you in these you have to go through certain like areas to like get the key cards and backtrack to where you have to place the key cards. Penguin Lagoon, not only do you have to flip switches, but you have to deal with a bunch of enemies spawning either in front of you or behind you, shooting you at a constant basis while having to hit rockets to you that go the opposite direction you want them to destroy the barricades to progress through the level. Like, that's absolutely obnoxious. I don't like it. And the Prince Dale boss as Mila, just outright bullshit. Mostly due to the fact that, she has less health than Carol and Lilac. And it's not a good level. It's not. Alright, next up, Final Dreadnought 1. So, Final Dreadnought 1, the only problem I really have with Final Dreadnought 1 is, those air ducts, that kind of just blow a bunch of air downwards. Like, if you're not grabbing onto something or you're not moving fast enough, you're just outright, it's just an instant death. And it's really annoying. But that's really the only issue I have with Final Dreadnought 1. Just, just those air ducts. Like, but, it's an okay level, I guess. And those are present. Those are present for all characters. Alright, Final Dreadnought 2. Is the next level to, rank right here. With Carol and Lilac, you kind of like oxygen supplies cut off, meaning that you have to get like a blue water shield or get air bubbles to be able to progress at a certain point, which you kind of do have to like slow down and stop for, meaning like you're slowly like losing air, and if you run out of air, it's an instant death. Like, it's not like Minecraft or Sonic games where you'll get like a timer or you'll start losing health. It's just an outright instant death. It's not present for Mila. Like, the cut off of the oxygen isn't present for Mila for some reason. Probably because, she's an alchemist, meaning, she's kind of, like, used to it. So I guess either that was a bug, I don't know. But, yeah. this is honestly going in the bad tier, right in between Thermal Base and Battle Glacier. Because again, the only the major problem again being, Lilac and Carol's stories where you play as them, having the oxygen supply cut off. But as you can see in the thumbnail for the level, these things, not only can they electrocute you, but they can also outright just crush you, ending in an instant death. It's just not a good level. Thermal Base, I mean, the boss is pretty fucking... Like, yeah. The final Serpentine fight is actually pretty good, though. Alright, Thermal Base 3. Like, honestly, I don't have any problems with Thermal Base 3. Other than, the fact that with Carol and Lilac, you fight Mila as the boss for Thermal Base 3. And with Mila, you don't even get a boss. That's really my only problem with that level. Other than those fucking Banshee cannons or whatever they call that, like in Sky Battalion, that's just outright stun you. Like, those are a problem too, but other than that, and having to fight Mila as a boss is when you play as Carol and Lilac, other than those issues, like, it's a good level. Like, I'd honestly put it right below Aqua Tunnel, but above Trap Hideout. And last but not least, Final Dreadnought 4. Like, Final Dreadnought 4. Believe it or not, I'm honestly gonna put in the great tier, like, right above Pengu Lagoon, but again, below Sky Battalion. The reasons why it's going in the great tier is because, other than, the thing that can, the energy field or whatever the fuck that thing is, and like the second half of the stage, before the final boss fight. Like, other than that, the level's actually pretty easy. Other than, the final boss itself. Against Brevin. Like, other than that, the level is pretty easy. Straightforward. It's fun. Like, it's actually prepping you for the final boss. And talk about the final boss itself. The final boss is, it depends on who you play as. Like, I personally find the Brevin to be the hardest with Lilac, surprisingly. The easiest with Mila. Due to the fact that, and with Mila, you only get 2 phases against Brevin with Mila compared to Carol and Lilac's 3. Like, you get the ship, and then you get Brevin, the, huge mech with Mila, and then after beating Brevin in the mech, it's just, that's it for Mila. But Carol and Lilac get the ship, Brevin and the mech, and then Brevin himself. Like, it's easiest with Mila because, again, it's 2 phases instead of the 3. But in the second phase, where he's in the mech with Mila, you can kind of just, he'll shoot like projectiles and stuff at you, which you can just hold. Again, I'm playing on a PS4, so I'm going to say triangle button. You can just hold the triangle button, aim your shield upwards, and he'll essentially just damage himself, pretty much, which makes it easier. And Carol, again, is the middle ground because while she can't exactly, like, reflect his projectiles and shots right back at him, she can, like, wall jump and just do some pretty decent damage against Brevin and the mech. Brevin himself and the ship. Whereas Lilac, you can't really do either of those things. Like, you kind of just outright just... It's kind of just like, try not to die. But yeah. Which honestly I think is why it's... Which is honestly is why it's in the great tier, because, the final boss, despite being a final boss meant to be challenging for all characters, supposedly, like, it varies on difficulty depending on who you play as. And it takes essentially full, like, it takes essentially just full capability of all their abilities and such, pretty much, when you come to think of it, for the most part. But yeah, honestly, yeah, it's a great level, but it's not my favorite. So yeah, that was my Freedom Planet 1 tier list. If you want to, like, know more, or whatever, and just say, hey, oh, you want to see me play through the game again? Casually? Watch my playthrough, but if you want to see me speedrun it, again, check out my Cine Speedruns channel, where I'm actually starting to do not only full game runs, but also single level runs. I mean, as of now, I only have one full game run with Mila, and my only single level speedruns I've done in Sky Battalion with all 3 as of right now. But yeah, again, check out my Cine Speedruns channel if you want to watch me speedrun single levels or, full game. Again, Freedom Planet on that channel. It's currently the focus. And every, like, for the most part, every, like, secondary video I do is going to be, me, like, practicing in, like, single levels with a certain character or something like that. Like, it's going to be that for the most part, but yeah, for the secondary videos. But yeah, with that said, thanks for watching, and take care. This was a fun one to do.